Do the boom shakalak till the dance hall full up.
Wind your body, wriggle your belly. It's episode 117 of Chet and John's Reassuring Finite Gaming Playlist. My name's John Denton. With me as always, Chet Roivers.
Hello.
It's the World Cup special this week, where we both have played no football games. 2 top 10 lists, 10 being the game we played the least, 1 being the game we played the most. Let's do this thing, Chet.
How do you know I haven't played a football game?
Oh, well, I shouldn't have guessed, should I?
Okay, no, you shouldn't, but I haven't, so nice job. My number 10 is a game called Elevate on iOS. It's a kind of brain training thing, but it's entirely word-based. I suppose, broadly speaking, it could be seen as kind of brain training for writers, maybe. It's a series of mini-games. In one of them, they give you a sentence and you have to remove the one superfluous word from the sentence. And then there's a glorified crossword puzzle where you're given clues and then you tap the correct word. It is just a crossword. And then there's one where you swipe left or right to decide whether the connotation of a certain word is positive or negative, which was really problematic because, you know, impartial came up. Is that positive or negative? Because some people think that's a weakness, you know? So some of these words they were throwing at you don't really have positive or negative connotations, or both, you know, it was weird anyway. As a game, the main issue is that you aren't scored until you finish a round. So some of them are time-based, and rather than give you a score and say, oh, you know, improve on that, do better next time, you just have to do it all over again. And sometimes the words repeat, and that's another issue. I don't know how many words are in the game, so... I don't know whether it's going to keep repeating them, but basically you can play 3 games per day, and then you have to wait, and then you can play 3 games the next day. And I think you can play 50. I think there are 15 games in total, but only a few of them are on the free version. The payment structure is fucking round the twist. You can pay 1 month for pro mode, as they call it, and it's like £5.49, or you can buy a 1-year subscription for £34.99. Bearing in mind that the demo doesn't illustrate whether there's even anywhere near enough content in the final game, you can get a million games like this for nothing.
I don't want to play this. I don't like stuff like that.
Well, it's fine. I mean, there are some. I mean, I thought the one when you remove the completely useless word was quite interesting, but the fact that at the end of it they're like, "Give us money, subscription now, bang!" It's just stupid. There are games like this for nothing, so that's crazy. But yeah, it looks nice. Rubbish.
All right. My number 10 is a game called Piano Tiles. This is actually the game that I talked about last week called Don't Touch the White Tile. I picked up my phone and it's changed its name on my phone to Piano Tiles. So the mystery deepens. The mystery of this game there's a million versions of it, all of which have different names. I have no idea what the original version is. They differ from each other imperceptibly. And now this one's just changed its name. Still fun. Still a good skill-based phone game. A diversion, I'd call it, really. It's not really... I mean, it is a game, but it's not something that really has any basis or massive merit. It's just sort of mindless skill. But yeah, just curious that it's just changed its name on my phone, which I don't remember updating or doing. It's just a weird situation. That whole world has just changed so much in the last probably in the time we've been doing this podcast. So I used to play a lot of iOS games and phone games at the beginning, and everything was kind of 69p and it was structured, and now the whole thing's just completely, it's so different.
So I suppose maybe some kind of they were legally obligated to change the title.
Quite possibly, but who knows? Because there's still a bunch of games with that. Basically, that's that. Don't touch the white tile. Don't touch the black tile. Don't touch the white tile. What T has got a capital T. Like,
yeah, it's actually the same on iOS. I searched for that game last week, and it came up with like you say, one letter different or a stray gap in between. You know, just. Yeah, so I mean, a lot of those people that make those games take the money and disappear. But I mean, if you sort of intend to have a future making those games, if someone comes to you and says change the title or we're going to sue you, they probably would change the title. I assume that's what's happened. I have no idea.
That makes sense.
But it's worth trying still.
Oh, it's still a fun game. Yeah, it's just a diversion. I'm going to stick with that. A fun diversion, a toy to play on your phone. But yeah, a game, not really.
Yeah. What's annoying is I couldn't even. I tried to figure out where the original was from, and I couldn't even find out. Google was just a mess of all these different pages, so I don't know who created that.
Yeah, I don't. That's why I couldn't find it either.
That's a shame. Yeah, I don't understand that world either. Okay, my number 9 is actually another iOS game. It's an iOS game called Chippy, which I've spoken about a couple of times, many months ago. A couple of my friends, one of my friends has just got a new iOS device, and he was asking for games, and for some reason that was my first suggestion. I guess it made a bigger impression on me than I realised at the time. But we booted it up, we played a few games, I passed it around, and it's great, instantly appealing, feels great to play. And yeah, I think I inspired a couple of them to pick it up. It's $150 still. I mean, I spoke about it months ago. You run a fish and chip shop. That's it. It feels better on iPad because you're doing very quick and kind of slight gestures over the whole of the screen. So, like for example, when you have to 1, 2, 3, 4 in 4 different directions to wrap up the fish and chips, on the iPhone it can sort of stumble a little bit. So if you have an iPad, I'd say it's a must-buy. But definitely worth looking at on the phone too. It doesn't seem... I looked at it on the App Store, and I don't think it ever caught fire because I think there's 11 user reviews, and I could have sworn it had that many when I downloaded it when it came out. So it seems to be one of those games that's just, it never took off, which is a real shame because it's fantastic. Chippy, I mean, truly, I don't know if it's on Android, but great game, really.
Just even thinking about fish and chips right now was making me want to cry. For people who don't know, I'm currently in the middle of cutting weight for a jiu-jitsu tournament. I won't go on about it any more than that, but it's a miserable experience. But my own choice, I don't expect any sympathy. It's just not fun. Anyway, number 9 is a game called 100 Balls with a Z on Android. I have no idea how... You often talk about games appear on your phone. You can't ever remember downloading them. Yeah, I have no recollection of doing this. Not been drinking or anything like that, just no recollection of doing it. This is a game where you have 100 balls in a thing, and cups move across the bottom of the screen, but on the equivalent of like a Generation Game conveyor belt, but they're not. They're just moving across. And you press the screen to open up the thing where all the balls are being held and drop them down, and you let go to close it back up again, and you're trying to drop the balls in the cups. If you get the balls in the cups, they go back into the thing, and if they drop down into the nothing land, then they disappear, and you have to keep you want to just keep going for as long as you can and just get the highest score as possible. The balls start to change colour, and then the cups start to speed up. It's really simple. Again, just like the other game, you can put it in the exact same category as that other game. Just a fun diversion, skill-based game. Nothing, simple idea, executed very well. Nothing bad to say about it, but it's not exactly something I'd necessarily tell anyone to rush out and play. But the type of game that will probably keep people entertained on a bus that don't really play games for a while. It's all right.
Yeah. Is there leaderboards?
I think there are. Yeah, there are through. It's on Android. It's through like the Google Play network or whatever. Yeah. So yeah, there are. Yeah. So yeah, you've got that side to it, which is cool. Works well. Yeah, that's kind of nice, plinky plonky, and looks nice and sharp.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, yeah, games like that, if they have a leaderboard, that's something to recommend them. I am a sucker for sticking a superfluous Z in place of an S. It's always a winner.
Yeah, it's great, isn't it? We should do it on our podcast name.
yeah, good idea. Or maybe not. Okay, well, one number 8 is a game I wanted to talk about more, but I've only played it for about just under half an hour. It's Destiny on the PlayStation 4.
You got in... Fucking hell, can't even speak. Yeah, sweet.
Yeah. Dave Turner hooked me up with the code. He had 2. So I downloaded the alpha earlier today, and I played it for about half an hour. It's hard to know what to say because I've literally played half an hour. But it's you perpetually have to be online, and there were server issues at first, as you probably expect, because it's just launched and they sent the keys out at all 8 p.m. I think, so a lot of people got them at the same time. There would be people appearing in the world. You just drop down into the world, and then it says go here, and then you have to kill a load of bad guys. It's all very, very straightforward, but people kept dropping in and out of the world, and it got to the point where I just was apparently on my own. So I did this really difficult sequence where you have to kill all of these enemies, and then there's this witch flying around who's really tough. It's clearly a situation that's meant to be dealt with by 2 or 3 people, but I managed to pull through. There's this brave option which you can select before an option before you tackle a level, and it knocks health and armor down and depletes the power of your weapons a little bit, and you get an XP boost in place of it, which is a nice idea, because if there's 4 of you going in, 2 of you could maybe do that and the others who can protect them to get the XP boost. That's a really nice idea. It looks really terrific. It runs quite smoothly when there was other people in my world. It did run perfectly well. Again, I'm basing this entirely on half an hour, but yeah, I like it. I like the way it feels. I like the way it looks. Your character, I think it was your character that there's throughout the whole first mission, there's narration. And the actor that delivers the dialogue, it's done in a very precise kind of theatrical style. So it really, really feels influenced by Star Trek, old Star Trek especially.
Right. Is it not? It's not the little floaty thing that's talking to you.
Oh, maybe it is.
Because that's Peter Dinklage, isn't it?
Oh my God, is it really?
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah, the little floaty guy is Peter Dinks.
Was that him? I can't.
I don't know because I haven't played it, but. If it is, it was the floaty thing, it's the same as the floaty things in Halo. But yeah, it's pure dink.
Okay, well, yeah, I mean that makes perfect sense because he does have a very sort of very theatrical delivery. So it constantly made me think of Star Trek, and the world's nice. But again, I shot a few things, a few guys bounced in and out. I'm encouraged, but I'll speak about it more at length next week.
Yeah, I will too. It's downloading as we speak on my PS4. I got the code, but didn't have a chance to download it and play it before the podcast. But yeah, very excited still. Bungie, they're like my all-time heroes. So yeah, very excited. Excuse me. Okay, my number 8 is a game called Up, Down, Left, Right on Android. It was on Android. This was recommended by you, in fact, and is apparently something to do with One Life Left. Is that right?
One of the hosts of the show is his. I don't know if it's his first game, but he said, "I'm not a game developer, but I made this game." So it's like a foray into the unknown, I guess. Oh,
well, that's always cool because that's something I would like to do, but zero clue of how to even approach starting to do that sort of thing, and also have no ideas. So I'm just talking shit. Anyway, this game kind of probably either going to be easy to explain or difficult to explain. Let me try. So on your screen, you have the equivalent of the arrow keys on your keyboard. So up, down, left, right. And the game asks you to press those in sequence to a beat. So you're going up, down, left, right, up, down, left, right. Simple, okay? Coming down the screen, though, is basically almost like an equation, but it'll say, for example, it'll have a right arrow, then it'll say the word is, and then, let's say, a left arrow. So what it's asking you to do is to replace whatever's on the left with whatever's on the right, on that go-around of up, down, left, right. So you might have to go up, down, left, right, and then you look up and it goes, shit, up, down, right on this one. The idea is just to get as many as you can without fucking up, and it sets you back to 0. It keeps your high score on the right of the screen the whole time, and every single time you get one right, it starts to add an extra layer to the music. So first the snare comes in, and then I think it's like some sort of synthy type hook comes in the background. You're sort of building this very simple song. But it's one of those games that's basically designed to twist your brain, almost like a tongue twister, but in game form. That's kind of what it's for. It's a simple game absolutely, but it's just one of those kind of perfectly formed ideas that's executed well. It's stylish, so very good.
Great. I mean, I think there's a port coming to iOS at some point, so I'm definitely going to play it then. But it did sound right up my street. I take it the production value to very, very straightforward.
Yeah, I mean the on-screen up, down, left, right look exactly like they would on a keyboard, and then everything's kind of pared back, but it's done in a fairly stylish way, and it's just like one of those things that you can tell it was a genesis of an idea that got turned into a game quite quickly, but by not overreaching in any sort of way, it allows itself to basically be a perfectly formed idea rather than kind of something that tries too many different things not well, just does this one idea really well. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, yeah. Great. I can't wait to play it. Yeah, again. You're going to keep it on your phone. Cool. Yeah, it is. It's a good thing to play. I like anything where you're kind of building music as well. Even though I wouldn't say that was kind of central to the game. That's kind of a superficial add extra to the game, but it's still nice. But it's a tongue twister. It's in video game form. That's what it's for, and that's kind of fun. Right. Well, yeah. I mean, it sounds it. I'm looking forward to playing that on iOS eventually at some point.
Okay, my number 7 is a game called Advance Wars.
Holy shit.
It's a Game Boy Advance game, one of the greatest games ever made, in my opinion, but I played it on iOS. So I'm not really sure I want to promote this method. It's a very popular and well-known method, so I won't go into how you do it, but it's surprisingly straightforward, and I don't know how you do it, but basically all you need to do to jailbreak your phone is set the calendar 3 days previously, visit this page, and then you download an app from there with a mock-up of the App Store, like a clone of the page. And there you go. You have this sort of portal that allows you to download GBA ROMs. The site was taken down by Nintendo, I think, last month, but there is still a clone of it up there, so it's still essentially there, but not. If you visit it, you can still go to the same pages. It's weird. Again, this is a world I don't really understand. My girlfriend has loads of games, and she must be one of the only people that actually owns the real genuine article when she downloads them. But she had Advance Wars there, and I had to have a go. I would buy, because it's recently got ported to the Wii U, but what an oddball manoeuvre that is. Put it on the 3DS, for the love of God. It's about £5 on Wii U, but I don't want to sit and play a handheld game on the Wii U, even if it is as great as Advance Wars. But I played a few levels on iOS, and it's still absolutely amazing. I discovered that I should have known this was the case, but all of the music in it is burned onto my brain, because I played it for so many hours back in the day. It's just a masterpiece. This iOS hub portal, I don't know what you'd call it, that hosts these games, like a MAME thing. I don't even know what I'm talking about, but it has some really cool features to it. You can press a fast forward button that skips long cutscenes and sort of chit chat, and you have instant access, if you're connected to Wi-Fi, to a massive database of cheats and stuff that you can just tap in. And when you mirror it to Apple TV, if you have Apple TV, the phone screen becomes the controller rather than a mocked-up GBA that's there before. Yeah, I mean, there's mild slowdown when you're playing, even on Advance Wars, but otherwise the presentation is impeccable. It's like, it really was... I also played X versus Sever, remember that?
Oh, yeah.
The first-person shooter on GBA, which I thought was great. Oh, my God, it's awful. I mean... And what a weird world we live in, where that game comes out and it inspires a film. I mean, those were some strange times. I also played Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2, which is the best version of that game, no question. I think I completed it back in the day 100 times, maybe more, because I just kept erasing the data and starting again, because I could do every level with every character in 1 2-minute thing and do all of the goals, etc. Blah blah. And it's still great. The only problem was the touchscreen controls, but my girlfriend pointed out that it's incredibly easy to just sync a Wii remote to your phone, and then you can basically play it like a pad.
Oh, nice.
It's just, I was like, wow, this is as horribly illegal and unfortunate as it's really cool, but I wish Nintendo were doing it themselves. They could make a killing. I mean, Advance Wars is like the best part of £5 on Wii U, and I just thought, imagine if there was some sort of iOS-based subscription service.
Yeah.
Make the phone compatible with it's just it's a shame that there isn't this is like not legal. But yeah, anyway, I played Advance Wars. It's still absolutely stunning. I'm probably still going to buy the Wii U one, just because I do need to play this again.
Yeah, I've always enjoyed the versions of those games that I played. Not that I've ever played them as much as you, but yeah, what can you say? Advance Wars, isn't it?
Now,
all right, my number 7 then is actually Pixeljunk Shooter Ultimate. Is this later on your list?
It's actually my next one, my number 6, so it's next. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I haven't played a huge amount. I've played the first few levels. I've liked a lot what I played. It's a bit more puzzly than I was expecting. I think I was expecting it just to be kind of a raw action shooter game. But yeah, I liked it. My little boy liked it as well. He was pointing out where the little orange men were to save, and I kept shooting them by accident. I think I might have scarred him for life. But yeah, I like the idea of you've got the lava, and obviously you can only be around that for so long, so you have to find water to soak that up, and there was a bit with like a sort of weird sponge thing or something. Yeah, I like what I played so far. I'm definitely going to play it more. I was actually playing on PS4. It looks gorgeous on PS4, but I will probably play it properly on PlayStation Vita. But yeah, I mean, I haven't played enough to talk about it. Great. Probably played as much of this as you did Destiny.
Oh, well, okay, all right, fair enough. Well, yeah, I mean, it's my number 6. I don't have a great deal to add to what I said about it yesterday. It is stunning, and it does sort of maintain a level of quality that's, it's only the second Q Games developed game I've played. The first was Pixeljunk 4am, which completely blew me away.
Oh, yeah.
So this shouldn't be a surprise how good this is. But yeah, based on the 4 or 5 hours I've played, in total, it's in the same breathing space as Velocity Ultra. I mean, it really keeps you on your toes, just constantly. There's one level where you're clearly supposed to map your path out beforehand, and then there are a couple of levels where you're basically racing against time. And I like the way the enemies can appear. The enemies aren't taxing; they're just sort of cannons that appear on the walls. But they can appear at any moment, so you can't really buzz around without. You have to be careful because they're easy to avoid the fire off and destroy, but they can just appear, completely unannounced. The physics are perfect, the controls are perfect. There's humour in it if you want it, but you can skip all that stuff if you like. But I found it quite amusing. The only issue I have is that you need to accumulate collectibles to proceed, which that should not be. Playing through a game as good as this, and then being told that you have to retread old ground to go and look for a tiny shimmering bunch of pixels in a corner of like a tucked away little screen.
Yeah, I noticed that's happening.
Shouldn't be. I mean, it should be. I mean, I just want to play the games. Don't lock the game off and make me go back to sort of, snoop around everywhere. But yeah, I mean, it's a fantastic game. The second world, it's all about. There's different systems introduced, and they're as strong as anything else. I mean, I'm just loving it. I really hope it maintains that level towards the end. Because if it does, it's a classic, I think.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to getting stuck back in for sure. Yeah, cute games. I love Pixeljunk 4am. Actually, I really like Pixeljunk Racer, which is the first one that they did back on PS3, and I played Eden as well, which I never really got my head around, but people rave about that. So yeah, it's definitely I like the fact that they kind of have this Pixeljunk brand, but all the games are different. Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, it's cool. All right, my number 6 is I've been playing some more Broforce, a tremendously fun video game. I've been playing on PC. I was excited to see that it's coming to Vita. That's going to be the place to play it, as far as I'm concerned. That was announced at E3, I believe. Just great action, funny, real tight 2D side-on SNES-style shooter controls, but short levels, really intense, great caricatures of 80s action movie stars, and really good level destruction as well. A lot of bits where you shoot a gas canister and it blows up and it sort of brings all the level down on top of the baddies and things like that, and they die in hilarious ways. And just a cool game. And despite the broing of everything in the game, it never comes across as annoying. It's never too Reddit memey. It's just kind of daft, which is far funnier as far as I'm concerned. A very, very good game. I'm looking forward to playing the final version on a console, I think. I might back off now and wait for it to come out properly on PlayStation formats and get it then, because I don't want to do too much and then it comes out in its best form and I've kind of burnt out on it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I take it there's no indication of a release date?
No, but I wouldn't be. I mean, the game feels pretty done now. I don't know if there's because I haven't got right to the end, so I don't know if there's content they still need to do at the back end of the game or whatever. But it feels tight, complete. I don't know how much more they're having to add to it in terms of early access. So hopefully it won't be too long.
Yeah, indeed. Okay, well, yeah, I can't. I mean, I love the sound of it. So
yeah, it's very cool.
I hope they get it over to PlayStation as quick as possible, because that suit me down to the ground.
Talking of which, Velocity 2X is out pretty damn soon. I think there's no release date, but I'm pretty sure they've got it finished down at Future Lab. Because they
had some press in recently, didn't they?
Yeah, and also one of them was tweeting about she was going to platinum the game today. So, that says that it's done. So it can't be too long. They were always talking about summer. Give me that shit right now.
yeah, ditto. Yeah, really, that'd be great. I can't wait. That's great. All right. Okay, my number 5 is Lone Survivor on the PlayStation Vita.
Okie dokie.
It's free on PlayStation Plus, and it's cross-buy with PlayStation 3. I've been dying to play this for ages, so it's another perfect PS Plus freebie for me. I've only done 90 minutes, maybe a couple of hours or so. I do have to say that I don't think it's my sort of game, really. If you're not aware, it's a 2D retro-styled survival horror game, but there are RPG elements and a few puzzles that, despite the very small play area, I found quite problematic, and I ended up getting stuck quite a few times and ended up trundling around this world to find something that was actually quite easy. It's one of those games. I think it's fair to say that it's been heavily inspired by point-and-click adventures as well. I do like the way it is. The atmosphere, it's very full on. At the beginning, you're advised to wear headphones and turn the lights out, and that's usually just means that there's going to be loads of silence punctuated with jump scares and white noise and stuff. But this is unashamedly quite abrasive, and really the audio design is really properly offbeat, and it just perfectly exudes the atmosphere of a place that I would really rather wouldn't be. Yeah. And yeah, there's the very explicit David Lynch references, especially in I'm pretty sure you mentioned this when you spoke about it years ago. There's that party you walk into where there's jazz in the background and no one understands what anyone's saying. They're like, "Hey, enjoy the party." That's a very David Lynch bit.
Yeah, for real.
I appreciate it at the same time as it's not quite giving me. I'm not quite getting what I thought I was going to get from it, but I'm going to stick with it because I really do appreciate how unusual it is. But if it doesn't grab me the next time I play it, I feel I may have to bin it off. But if you aren't grabbed after that amount of time, what can you do? It's just one of those things, unfortunately. And there's so many goddamn games that need to be played. It's a shame. I mean, I want to love it, but it just hasn't grabbed me, and that's a problem. But I'll talk about it next week. I'm hoping that changes.
Yeah, it's a very deliberately paced game that is basically designed as the guy who made it, as far as I'm aware, Jasper Byrne, for fans of the good Silent Hill games, the original 2, 3. And the atmosphere is basically identical to those games, that kind of just really off-kilter, confusing dread, like come-down unpleasantness, mixed with genuine nastiness. And that's what I loved about the game. I kind of had a similar reaction to you in terms of the raw mechanics, and I did spend a lot of time trundling around myself, but that was kind of like part of those games anyway, so I didn't mind that too much. But it's tough to. It's just tough to so many games, and then they're fucking chucking alphas and betas and omegas down our throats. I'll give it some more time. Though it definitely deserves further investigation. But we'll see. I'll talk about it again. Cool. All right, my number 5 then is Tango Fiesta on PC from Spilt Milk Studios. I spoke about this a couple of weeks ago, so I actually met Andy from Spilt Milk and played it with him. And then the game came out on Early Access. And I've been playing it on and off since then. As it stands, which is, by the time the game comes out, apparently the first major update will hit today as you're listening to this, presuming you're listening on the Friday, which is going to fix a lot of the things that I'm going to currently talk about. So, first of all, I must say, I love the title music when you turn on the game. It's just fucking great. I love the style of it. I love the character names. And straight away, I mean, it's this top-down / that kind of isometric view. I always called it top-down shooter. Very inspired by the games and then obviously the movies of the 80s. And it has the feel of guns, really nice. It has great music and sound effects. It looks lovely, nice and bright and bold. But when it was first released, there's some buggy stuff. It's really early access, so you kind of write that off. But it had some problems with the spawn system, which apparently was like hangover from when it was made in the game jam. Basically, enemies would spawn right next to you, and there's not a lot you can do when you're getting smashed by them. And it's very frustrating. But apparently, it is now completely different, and all the enemies are there from when you start the level. So that I cannot overstate how much of a difference that will make to this game. It will be a completely different video game once I play it then. So right now it's more been about the potential of this game. I like, basically they've got the feel down. Now what they're needing to do is just fix the stuff around that, and then from then on, as far as I'm aware, I mean, I'm not a developer, but then it's like polishing and tightening and balancing issues and stuff like that. I've never played a game in early access before. I have played many, many, many games that aren't finished before through work, but this has been a slightly different situation because obviously it's a retail game. So it's taken me a little bit to get my head around something that it's kind of a cognitive dissonance type of thing, to use an annoying phrase. Half of my brain thinks this is a finished game that I'm playing, and when it's kicking my ass a bit unfairly, it's annoying me. The other half of my brain is fully aware of what's happening and understands that this stuff is going to be fixed, and I should be looking forward to how it develops, and it's kind of going to be exciting to play along. And I guess that's what a lot of people get out of buying early access. They feel like they're kind of along for the journey for the last few months of development, and I get that, but considering how much I checked my Steam clock, and I played like nearly 90 minutes of it over the week or so that's been out, which is for a game that's a lot of the times is quite keen to fuck you, to fuck you quite nastily. Suggests that it has a hell of a lot going for it, especially when it has some bugs like it spawns you with the wrong weapon and things like that, and that's stuff that's easily fixed and will be fixed. So yeah, that says to me that a lot going for it. Looking forward to playing it in 4-player co-op, offline and online when that works. And I think Tango Fiesta, well, hopefully the Tango Fiesta of right now, the one that's been updated, is going to be banging. And I think the Tango Fiesta in about 2 or 3 weeks is going to be really, really good fun. And then, fingers crossed, the final Tango Fiesta is going to be, a bit of a monster. 4-player, some really cool ideas with the revive system and the fact you can kind of you can hit the other players on your team and steal the money from them and use that as yourself, so you can kind of wind each other up. It's kind of a four swords thing. I think that it's got a lot of potential for just being... The bottom line is that feel, that crucial feel of the way the guns feel and how it feels to shoot the bad guys in a game like this. And it actually plays a bit more like a bullet hell type of shooter. You're kind of swerving in and out of bullets, and there's a run button on the left trigger and a stamina bar. So that's, unlike some of those games, it is very much about pattern recognition in the bullets as well as just standard running around blowing shit up. When all that's tightened up to where I'm sure it will be in a matter of weeks' time, I think it's going to be great, especially on co-op, and it is a co-op game at heart.
Are we going to be able to play it when's the finished date? Is that actually set in stone?
No. I think the sort of rough date is September, October sort of time.
Oh right. Okay, so still some time. I thought it was when you said 2 weeks, 3 weeks. I thought you.
No, because it's going to be every few weeks is going to be basically the beautiful thing about Steam is that those guys can literally just upload, as far as I'm aware, upload a new build right now, and then it just goes, everybody downloads it as a patch. They don't have to go through anything. It's just they're kind of in charge of that shit. So it's easy for them, and they're going to keep, every time they've got a new build that's worth, that's working right and QA'd up, they're just going to drop it, and the game's just going to keep expanding. As I said, this is the first game I've played properly on early access, so it's kind of it's a confusing experience, but it's good to have it because it's something that's going to be happening a lot more of, obviously, and it's kind of in a unique situation because we have a dialogue, with the guys that are making it to an extent, which, I will still. I think I've been fair in this piece by picking out the flaws as well. So hopefully there's no conflict of interest there, but I don't think there would be anyway. But you know what I'm saying. Interesting. It's just an interesting situation. It's
completely alien to me. I've never played a game in early access and probably perhaps never will. But I suppose the worst thing that could happen is if the bugs are so severe that could be negative PR for the whole duration of the project. But because some people hear that and they immediately associate. I mean, how many other times it's fixed? It's just, I don't know. For a lot of people, will it? I don't know.
I think for console people like you and I, traditionally, that sort of stuff. It's very off-putting, but I think for early access has been around for a while now on Steam, and I think those who this is guessing, but I think those who kind of enter into that contract kind of know what to expect, and they're not really from the same world as us traditionally as gamers. They're from a PC moddy, breaking stuff down, playing stuff early type of world anyway. So this is the impression I get from people playing, reading about people playing stuff like DayZ, which when it was launched is basically completely fucked. Way, way, way worse than Tango is. And, people are still buying that in their droves. So, I think it's just different. It's a kind of a cultural thing.
Yeah, I mean, the only experience I've had of that is one of the few PC games I played for work, which was APB, which was completely knackered when it came out, and then I played it a few weeks after that, and I was like, wow, this is really working, and there was just no community there because they'd all abandoned it.
Yeah, guess who worked on that game?
Who?
Same guy.
No way, really? I didn't know that. Wow, that's interesting. Yeah. But that's my only experience of that, because I was just like, wow, this game's legitimately really good. But by then it had earned its bad reputation and it was just left to die. And I thought that was incredibly unfair. But that's but regardless, I can't wait to play Tango Fiesta. I kind of avoided it from day one because as soon as I saw it, I was like, that's so far up my street, it's stupid. So I'm hoping that when I come down to Bournemouth in
next month, isn't it? I think it'll be in a much better state. Well, I'll play it tomorrow, and I'm sure it'll be in a much better state tomorrow. And I've still had fun with it, as much as it has wound me up at times. There's no reason, with the little amount of time that I have, and the amount of games there are to play, there's no way I'd have put in 90 plus minutes into a game that I wasn't enjoying. Yeah,
fair my Yeah. All right. Okay. Well, yeah. I'm looking forward to hearing more about that as it develops. My number four is a game called Color Zen on the Nintendo 3DS. I also played it briefly on iPad because it's a port of an iOS game. Have you heard of this?
No, not at all.
It's a very, very, very simple puzzle game that doesn't force anything upon you. There's no time limit. There's no high score table. It's just a puzzle. Solve it or don't solve it. You're presented with a series of coloured shapes on a screen, and you smash shapes of the same colour together, and that colour then becomes the colour of the background, thus also erasing all other shapes of that colour. Because they blend into the background.
Okay.
And what you need to do is make sure that on your final move, the screen is left as the same colour as the screen's border. I mean, I've probably made it sound complicated. It's the most straightforward thing in the world. You've got two circles of the same colour, smush them together, everything's red, it's the same colour as the border, you've won the puzzle, and then it moves on and on. There's over 400 puzzles in the game, incidentally. It's the easiest thing in the world. But then it starts to get unbelievably taxing. There are obstacles that sort of stop you from getting shapes to each other very easily. There are coloured shapes within other different coloured shapes. There are white shapes that adopt any colour, and then there are black shapes that erase colours, etc., etc. I mean, it's the most accessible thing in history until it becomes a parade of completely brutal brain teasers. It's part of the appeal, according to the developers and people who've reviewed it on iTunes, is the pleasant, thoroughly unintrusive, relaxing electronic soundtrack, which is, they keep telling you on Spotify, buy it on iTunes, etc. It's nice. I thought it was fine. It's very, very chilled music. The game's reasonably priced. It's a download. I think it's about £3 or so, and there are, like I said, over 400 puzzles. Mm-hmm. But yeah, for a game that places so much emphasis on music being a part of the experience, the audio on 3DS restarts every time you change a level. Oh. And there's also a really, really jarring audio clipping whenever that happens. This in itself, despite being a port of an iOS game, is also a port of a Wii U version, so I don't know if that happened on the Wii U version as well, but you're supposed to sort of bask in this sort of ambient atmosphere, and every time you do a puzzle, it goes back, and you're like, that's really quite jarring. This is why I tried the iOS version on iPad, and not only is that audio clipping issue not there, you can use your own music,
right?
So that's a big plus. You can put any music you want in there if you like. And part of it is free on iOS. Obviously, you pay for the first chunk of levels are free, and then you pay 69p per pack, and I think altogether it works out about the same price as the Nintendo 3DS version. So yeah, it's a really very simple and then eventually very, very hard puzzle game. It works great. It's just I'd probably buy the iOS version given the choice.
Yeah, it sounds all right.
It's all right. It's nice. It's the kind of thing that anybody could. It's the kind of thing that a random relative who's never played a game in their life would end up 3 a.m. trying to. It's got one of those games that definitely has an appeal, but it's not quite tuned into sort of my interests and. So it's very. I mean, it's hard to fault as a concept, but on 3DS, it's far from ideally presented.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, sounds right. Good. Okay, my number 4. I won't talk about this too much because I believe I'll be talking about it in much bigger depth next week. I've been playing a lot more of the UFC demo. I went into a lot of detail last week. I don't actually remember anything that I said as I was saying it. I've obviously listened to it back. Just been playing some more. Still, I like a lot of it. A lot of it still. I've kind of come to terms with there being a lot of aspects of the game that I'm going to be disappointed with. There's stuff that is in EA MMA and UFC Undisputed 3 that isn't in this game, and in a lot of ways it feels like a step backwards from those. But you get into some absolutely banging stand-up exchanges, even with the computer. And if you kind of wean yourself off using the stupider kicks that are in the game, which are ridiculously... You've got a cartwheel kick, an absurd move, of which there have been maybe 2 or 3 pulled off ever in the history of the UFC, ever. a move that's not actually too difficult to do, but you're just not throwing a cartwheel kick. That is easier to do than throwing a left hook to the liver, like a basic part of boxing. So it takes more buttons to do that than it does to throw a fucking cartwheel kick with John Jones. So if you kind of wean yourself off doing those daft techniques and stick to trying to make it look like a fight, it's way more enjoyable. And I have had some great fights. Yes, I would like it if you knock someone down, you could rush them. The fact there's no run button is criminal. But yeah, when it's good, when I've had some 3-round epics, even on the demo, they really have been good. And I think there's going to be some great 2-player matches to be had by two people who know how to play the game. If you watch two people trying to button mash, it looks like shit because it looks so real. And then they're just like standing there, just swinging at each other, and it doesn't look anything like a real fight. But once you've got two people who know how to play, hopefully not to the point where they're exploiting the game's flaws, but they just want to have a good fight that looks good as well. It's going to be a lot of fun. I think, but I believe that I'm getting the final version in either end of this week or beginning of next week for a review that I'm doing. So I'll have a lot more info on this game next week.
Nice one. I suppose you don't know what format you're getting it on.
I believe I'm getting the Xbox One version, which is I think I'd have rather had the PS4, but what can you do? What a ridiculous thing to complain about. So yeah.
yeah. From what I've heard on that Digital Foundry comparison piece, I don't think there's a whole lot in it.
Yeah, apparently I've been reading some general impressions as well, and it seems that way. One's ever so slightly better than the other, but it has a skipping thing that who cares? I'm sure they're fine.
Yeah. Me too. Okay, my number 3 is a game called Magic Thighs and Slightly Phil on the Xbox 360. The full title is actually Magic Thighs and Slightly Phil Save Japan. I don't think that title has anything to do with anything apart from just being fucking odd. But it's actually this is an indie game. It's a remake, stroke reskin of Bombjack, which is completely fine with me because that was a really early obsession of mine, and I haven't seen any kind of version of it for years. I mean, I think there was like a DS port years ago.
Did they do a terrible 3D one? Maybe.
No, I don't think they did.
I'm sure there was. Yeah.
There probably was saying that, yeah. I don't remember that, but yeah. But yeah, this is pretty good. I mean, if you've never played Bombjack, it's basically Pac-Man with gravity and platforms instead of a maze, and you leap around getting collectibles, avoiding enemies. The enemies here are generic things like cartoon cats and birds, and it's so simple. The only button you use is A, which is jump. But you can hold it and you hold A and you jump higher, and if you hold up on the thumbstick, you go even higher. You can reach basically the top of the screen, or you can feather the button to glide, or release it and hold the thumbstick down to fall very fast. It's just Bombjack, which is all good with me. The music is very 80s. I mean, it's all rights-free stuff, but it was quite well chosen. I mean, most of it sounds like it's from like a montage in that movie Cocktail, starring Tom Cruise. If you remember that masterpiece,
I think everybody does. Well, I do.
It is. Yeah, well, I mean, it's got that kind of jangly sort of bongos. I don't know. It's just that,
jangly
for some
bongos.
Reason, maybe
it's got the jangly bongos. Doesn't he work for Xbox?
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. Yeah. So it's cocktail music, but yeah, it's fun enough. It's polished enough. The controls are tight. The ropiness of the AI can obviously become quite irritating if you're slightly impatient because it just goes on these cyclical patterns that are kind of annoying. And I kept running into an issue. I ran into an issue, I think 3 times, where the game crashed whenever I hit level 20. But I'm pretty sure. I am actually 100% sure that the creator is aware of it, and that it's being patched. I mean, like Steam, I think XBLIG now is. It's very easy for creators to get patches up quite quickly. But yeah, it's good. It's solid. It's a port of Bombjack. Although there isn't leaderboard support, obviously because it's XBLIG, there is local co-op. So yeah, it's really not bad at all.
Oh. What the hell is it called again?
Magic Thighs and Slightly Phil Save Japan. The Save Japan bit is only on the menu screen. Everywhere else it's called Magic Thighs and Slightly Phil. I mean, that's just like, woohoo, I'm a crazy person.
Colin Hunt. All right.
It's exactly. I'm sorry, but it is ever so slightly Colin Hunt.
My number 3 then is Wolfenstein. A game I'm crawling through. Has to be said. I'm really kind of up and down on the game now. I got off to a really strong start with me, and I'm probably about 2/3 of the way through now. And it has moments that I love, which mainly involve just shooting things. I really enjoy those bits, and I enjoy the kind of story and the cutscenes, although I don't think it's quite as strong as it was in the beginning, but hopefully it'll pick up again towards the end. But some of the levels, like there's a level where you sneak into a prison and it's just a really tedious stealth level, and I basically hated it and just wanted it to be over. But then you have to get back out of the prison and it's just a fucking riotous gunfight, and I absolutely loved it. But you get this huge shotgun and you're just blowing things to pieces, and it's still quite hard, but it's a lot of fun. And then after that, you go back to your kind of hub-based, resistance-based stuff, and they're like, can you find some mouldy concrete? So I had to fucking trundle around this building for ages looking for mouldy concrete. I was like, what the hell am I doing this for? Why would you ever make me try and find mouldy concrete when I just want to, I'm John Cena, I've got a gun, I want to go and kill everything. This is what you set me up for. Don't make me find mouldy concrete. Thankfully, you told me where the mouldy concrete was. Got the mouldy concrete, and then back into more action. So... yeah, I want to get to the end of the game. It's just been up and down, and the PC version doesn't run as it should do. The frame rate's very up and down, set up and down too much. I kind of wish I was playing it on a console. It's notoriously bad, like the PC version. People are slating it everywhere. The cutscenes skip. I could put it on the very lowest settings, and it runs exactly the same as it does on the very highest settings, which is inconsistent. And... that stuff just winds me up about PC gaming. My PC is fine. It's as powerful as PS4. As powerful as an Xbox One. It should be running these games in the medium to high settings with no trouble whatsoever. But PCs, I don't know, they wind me up. They really do when it comes to these types of games. I don't want to be stuck in menus the whole time trying to fix my game. I just want to play it. But yeah, mouldy concrete.
Yeah, there are a couple of moments like that in the whole game, and to be honest, that mouldy concrete bit, I was walking around that where that aircraft, where the aircraft, and I was just thinking, this is a hair's breadth away from really pissing me off. But then I just in the corner of my eye saw like some green smoke coming off a slab of concrete. I was like, oh, there it is, it's done. And that there's something similar later on as well, but I managed to nip it just before it started to get really irritating. But it is bizarre. Why insert that into the game? It's go from A to B, press a button, and then come back. It is a bit of a mystery, but it's a shame that there's technical issues. But you should definitely try and finish it.
I'm going to. I'm definitely going to. I am enjoying it. When the action kicks off, it is a lot of fun, and I like the story. I want to see what happens, which is rare. I know who the characters are. Action games don't have to do a huge amount to make me kind of engaged with their basic stories, but this is actually pretty good. I love the records as well that you pick up, the German versions of the classic sort of pop rock records, like the Beatles and stuff. They're brilliant.
Yeah, I only found a couple of those. Are there lots of them?
I think there's a few. I've only found 2, but I think there's a few more. So House of Rising Sun, I think I found, and some like Beatle thing that sounds like the Beatles.
Yes. Oh, well, yeah, it's a good game. It's a fine game. Wolfenstein. Okay, my number 2 is I don't know whether it's your 2 or number 1. It's the Battlefield Hardline beta.
It's technically my number 1, but let's do it now.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, yeah. So I played it on both PC, which I wrote my impressions for Eurogame. You may or may not have read, but it's up there now if you want to. And then I've recently today just played a bit on the PS4 as well. Very different, almost. There's no difference really. So Battlefield Hardline is the new Battlefield game, but it's not from DICE, it's from Visceral, the people behind Dead Space and Dante's Inferno. The trailer leaked just before E3 with a kind of Heat vibe, cops and robbers. There's a campaign mode. It seems quite cool. Visceral have much more pedigree when it comes to single-player games than DICE ever have, so I'm a bit more hopeful than those dreadful Battlefield campaigns. But what we have here is a single-map, 2-mode beta, which, first things first, and I pinned my article around this, the fucker works. I'm so used to Battlefield 4 just kicking me in the balls all the time that, got the code, downloaded it, worked straight into the server browser on PC as it works through Battlelog. Pick the game, pick the map, loads, no crashes, no problems. Just like a game, just like games work. You know, I'm not going to say there's not a few little tiny glitches here and there. It's a beta, but yeah, it worked. But here, okay, so it's cops versus robbers, 16 players aside, 2 new modes. One is called Blood Money, the other is called Heist. In Blood Money, the 2 teams have to fight over the cash in a central hub of cash in the map and bring that cash back to their respective vaults, which are in the backs of vans, basically in underground car parks on either side of the map. Where the twists come is that not only can you shoot other players who are carrying cash and steal their cash, as you've been able to in other games, you can also raid the vault of the other team. So a lot of strategy comes into it, where one team can take a huge lead, but a coordinated attack from the other team can actually completely smash their vault if you can keep them off it and then get that money back to yours and win it quite easily. Or during that, another squad could go to the central hub of cash and start raiding that to get cash from either the vaults or the central hub. It's the classic Battlefield progress circle. So every time that it goes around, you take more cash. So you've got that risk-reward thing. If you hang around there too long, you might get shot, but you're going to get more cash. Really, really, really good mode. Had some classic moments in it already. Some really clever back and forth. Some like raids where me and another guy jumped in a car, raided their vault was unguarded, snatched a load of cash, shot our way out, jumped back in the car, sped back to our vault while explosions were going off everywhere, helicopters were chasing us. That's why you play Battlefield games, and it is still very much a Battlefield game, despite being this cops and robbers thing. There are a few new things, like a few new equipment things where there's like a grappling hook and a zip line and a few different bits and bobs, and obviously the dialogue and incidental dialogue is different than themed around cops and robbers, but it's still very much a Battlefield game. It feels, looks, and plays like a Battlefield game. Second mode is called Heist, but a more disappointing mode than Blood Money because the trailers make it look like kind of more than it is right now. It suggests that you're going to be having these epic chases and things like that, and what it actually is kind of a fairly basic kind of almost CTF variant, I guess you could call it, if you were being very, very broad with it. What happens in this map is the match starts with 2 security vans being tipped over, basically, in the centre of LA, and the criminals have to come and slowly use progress bars to blow up the vans, get the loot, and then they're trying to get the loot to capture points. The police are trying to hold down the vans, and then if they can't do that, they're trying to stop the criminals getting away with the loot. What the trailer suggests is that you've got this initial shootout over the loot, and then you're going to be having amazing police car chases through tunnels and stuff like that. Yes, that is possible, but the map is very small for a Battlefield map. So what's more likely to happen is people are running away and you just have a series of protracted gun battles which eventually lead to getting up one of the skyscrapers to try and get away. It's fine, it's fun. It's not as fun as Blood Money for me. It has some problems where it makes no sense that if say the baddies are running away with the loot and the police get them, kill them, then they have to kind of hold that area for a while. Fair enough from a gameplay point of view, but then the loot just resets. So that just shatters the fiction instantly of what you're playing. It makes 0 sense. From a gameplay balance point of view, I get it. This is the sport, effectively, that you're trying to play. But if you're trying to sort of cultivate this cops and robbers fantasy, that kills it straight away. And, yeah, like I said, that you're not really having those types of car chases. I'm hoping we'll see other maps that are the size of something like a Caspian border or from Battlefield 3, or just some of the classic really big maps that we've seen, with the really long maps that work well for Rush, so you can actually have proper vehicle chases. But yeah, generally very impressed, very fun, it works. Battlefield is always good. I would hope that some of the modes that we see in the final game involve smaller team types, because I think for the fantasy again that they're creating, it may be a bit too much of a mess. That kind of Battlefield, or everyone piling in, carnage everywhere. There's not that much room for subtlety in that, and I would like to see maybe an 8-on-8 mode, just to see if that allows a bit more what's the word I'm looking for? Just allows for some different types of scenarios to arrive where you're not constantly on the lookout for snipers and you're constantly under threat. We shall see, but yeah, just pretty impressed so far. I like it a lot. It's cool and it works.
Yeah, it does. I've played it quite a bit, and I'm very impressed as well. I feel the same way about you with regards to the heist mode. It does. It kind of reminds me of Obliteration, where it's just a mad scramble towards a respawning thing that you just keep chasing after, and then they've got it, and then they drop it, and then you've got it, and then you make a way back to your base, and then they kill you. And it's just it was fun, but and it's also I couldn't work out the spawning. This will probably come with playing it a bit more, but I didn't. It just seemed like there was always people coming from all directions, and you couldn't strategize against anything. I don't know whether that's something to do with the beta or whether I just wasn't getting used to the way the maps were working. I like the fact that there's reputation-based perks. So if you, for example, are playing Blood Money and you capture a load of money or you steal a load of money from their base, take it back, a little thing will come up and it'll say, do you want to take perk A or perk B? And it's nothing game-breaking. Like I kept getting offered, one of them was extra suppression. Another, it's a minor sort of upgrade, but it could make all the difference in combat. I also love the fact that they've taken an idea from Homefront of all things, and you can buy kit, which is something that you could. The one thing I didn't understand, for example, I was playing a game, I was doing really well, I had loads of cash, so I bought the ability to revive because I was a medic, and you start with the health pack, and that's it. I paid like $1,000 to be able to revive, but does that happen? Is that for the whole game?
Yeah.
So if you do it once, you never have to pay for that perk again?
I'm pretty sure that's the case, yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, right, okay, so, all right. I thought you have to... I thought it was interesting in that if you have to... Every time you start a match, you have nothing, and you can buy a certain path for yourself.
I'm pretty sure that's not the case.
Okay.
In fact, yeah, I'm sure it's not.
So you only have to part with that money one time?
Yeah, and I'm guessing that a lot of it's going to be locked off when you're not playing the beta. They just want to let you have access to more kit quickly.
I see.
In beta, and maybe it's more expensive as well. But
I see. I hope they keep that, to be honest, because that's a really nice idea. Because you never quite know what the other team have. If you're one-on-one with someone, you don't know what they've bought, so you don't know which direction they've gone in. I suppose you don't know what kit they've started up with in Battlefield either, so it's the same thing really. But I thought it was a very cool idea. I like the incidental dialogue. You just hear stray bits of bickering sometimes, like amongst the police and the thieves, and sometimes just hardballed macho twattery, and then some sort of bickering. But it's a little bit difficult to speak about it in too much detail because it is Battlefield. I thought this was going to be a completely new thing. I mean, I was expecting Payday 2 done right.
yeah.
This is Payday, but with relentless action, whereas Payday was all about standing around and holding a button. So it wins every time. But yeah, it's Battlefield. The fonts are the same. The menus are extremely similar. But at the same time, it's not. I do like this kind of. I mean, for a beta, it does work fantastically well, as you said, and I just do like the fact that it's Battlefield, but kind of not. I like the trimming. I mean, I think this could be really fantastic. I've really enjoyed what I've played, and Blood Money is just so much fun.
Yeah, it really
especially
is.
when you've. I mean, I haven't been talking to teammates, so I can't wait to play it with friends because using vehicles to sort of box in. I mean, honestly, the possibilities are really exciting. I can't wait to play it some more.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I do like what I played a lot. I liked it. Well, my whole experience with Battlefield 4 was awful, so yeah, it was nice to enjoy Battlefield again.
Well, yeah, I'm going to play it over the weekend plenty.
I believe then it's your number one.
Is it your number one first, or is it mine?
Yeah, you've been going first all the way, so I think it's yours.
Okay. My number one is Ultra Street Fighter 4 on the Xbox 360.
Awesome.
I take it you haven't played this?
No, I've not, no.
Okay. I mean, this is really hard to speak about. It's hard to review. I mean, if you play Street Fighter, it's a topic of conversation for years. So, sticking a review score, for example, on a new beat-em-up, or a new beat-em-up that is as complex as a Street Fighter game is, it seems redundant because if you play these games, you never stop assessing them. You're always discovering. So, but I've played it very extensively over the past couple of weeks, and I also have played it in the perfect scenario, which was with a few friends, a couple of tournament edition fight sticks, a few beers. It's the only way to play Street Fighter. it's difficult to. I mean, the first things that we noticed in that environment were some of the really powerful moves, like T-Hawk's ridiculous Mexican Typhoon thing, have been nerfed a little. A friend of mine uses that all the time, and he was devastated because he could win a match with 2 of those. Yeah, I'm just like, have that. Fucking shit. But things like that have been nerfed a bit, and it also grabs appear to require you to be far closer than previously. And you also, this is really nice, you have the option to, rather than select an ultra before a match, you have the option of using either one. So you can just do them on the fly, but they're less powerful. That's the compromise.
Okay.
So there are some really, I mean, there are some characters for whom, if only I'd picked my other ultra, I'd have finished you there. But so you have that option if you want it. And yet there's 5 new characters. Most of them are sort of pinched from Tekken. What was it? Street Fighter Cross Tekken.
Right.
The original character, the brand new one, is Decapre, who's basically evil Cammy, but her moveset's very different, a lot of charged sort of attacks, so she's more like Guile or someone like E Honda to control.
Okay.
There's Elena, who looks like a female Dalsim with sort of long bendy arms, and she's
Street Fighter 3, right?
Is that right?
I think so, yeah.
Oh, I think she is. Yeah, I think you're right. She's extremely slow, but very, very powerful, and almost all of her specials are kicks. And her, judging by what I've played, her moves take a while to be able to read, so she's a bit of a wild card character, but very different. I mean, she also has a healing ultra, which is quite unusual. But I played her online quite a few times and got some really, really, really nice victories. So she's definitely a character I'm going to focus on. Then there's Poison. Poison, that's a man or a woman? I don't know. There's always been talk about that.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I have no idea either, but it's either a cross-dressing man or it's a very butch woman. But broadly speaking, she's a straightforward. She's the straightforward sort of Ken Ryu with a fireball, a dragon punch, and a terrifically useful ranged kick that you can change into a grab at the last second. But her equivalent of the dragon punch is useless. It's got no range on it. So she's an interesting another character I want to focus on. Hugo is the terrifying looking giant fat mess. I mean, what's he from?
Street Fighter 3 and I believe Final Fight.
Yeah, Final Fight. That sounds about right. I mean, a terrifying looking person.
Yeah.
I think even if he was small, I mean, he's a giant. But even if he was tiny, he would give anybody nightmares. But superficially, he's quite similar to Zangief, but he has nothing that's as easy to execute or as infuriating as the spinning lariat move of Zangief's. But his main ultra is perhaps the most devastating in the game, and it's very easy to pull off. And he has a mid-air grab that's extraordinarily effective. And I found that out the hard way online. And the final character is Rolento, who for me was the least interesting of the 5. I just didn't really get on with him at all. He looks kind of like an evil Guile, but most of his moves seem to be a sort of assembly of combo parts that I could never put in the right order. It's weird. He reminded me of Adon, who's another character I never got on with. Probably need to look into him a bit more, but I wasn't really interested. So yeah, I played all of their campaigns, the single player. I still don't understand the point of playing a campaign in a fighting game. Fighting games are worthless on their own to me, completely worthless. Unless you're doing actually proper focused training. Because when you play the campaign, if you're not a hardcore player, and I'm not one of those people who goes on forums and talks about Street Fighter, I play it socially only, so I'm not an encyclopedia. But whenever I play a campaign match, when you go through the story mode, it's always a walk in the park until you get to a spike. So, for example, you get to Ryu and you get completely flattened by him. 2 rounds does you. Every time you leap in for a move, he does a dragon punch. If you're toe to toe with him crouching, the very second you press sweep, he magically does a dragon punch. It's so phony. You don't learn how to use different tactics, because if he beats you in the rematch, he walks around like Mr. Bean and just takes punch from, he just gets his ass kicked. So you don't learn to sort of work around it. It just gives you the win. It's like, if you imagine playing Battlefield with bots, it's a training ground, but not really, because the complexity of a human opponent can't be recreated, and you're not really given the opportunity to learn the game. It's silly. So that hasn't been improved. It's still the same old single-player Street Fighter, but arguably that couldn't have been improved anyway, because this is such a purebred multiplayer game. More than anything else, I mean, Ultimate Street Fighter 4 is a reminder, if you needed a reminder, of how completely and utterly thrilling Street Fighter is online, or with other people in multiplayer. There doesn't seem to be a massive amount of people playing it right now. Online on 360, that is. I mean, I always can find a ranked match, but team battles and endless battles are much harder to come by. But I hope that when the boxed version appears, I think this is going to come out as a full boxed disc, either next month or August, I think. I mean, or better yet, next gen at some point. I mean, I'm sure that will happen eventually.
Yeah.
But we'll see. But yeah, there's loads of new features. I mean, there's an online training sort of lobby system. You can upload replays to YouTube directly, and you can also make replays of offline matches, which you couldn't do before. You can also practice offline, but doctor the frame count so that you can master combos and stuff in preparation for online play, which is just, I mean, this is this is sort of panders to people who take Street Fighter very seriously indeed. But from here, at the moment, after the God knows how many hours I've put into it in the last 2 weeks, it's pretty clearly the best version of what is one of the best games ever made. I mean, it's just, we had too much fun last Friday night playing it late into the night. I mean, I don't know if I could take another version of Street Fighter 4. Some fans, I'm sure, would be happy for them to tinker with this forever and for one of these to come out every few years. But I'm kind of looking forward to some more fundamental changes and a bit of a mix-up. But then until that happens, this is pretty hard to pass up. If you play Street Fighter in any capacity, it's very, very hard not to recommend it.
I'm looking forward to having a few games, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, I'll bring it. I'll bring the sticks down.
Yeah, but I've still got one here, so.
Oh, of course you have. Yeah,
right under my feet, in fact, as I speak. So yeah, looking forward to it. But yeah, it never gets a chance to play. But
yeah, it's good. It's rather good though.
It is one of the greatest games of all time, unquestionably.
Mm-hmm.
Unquestionably. Another fantastic game then, but not a new one, is Mario Kart. That's my number one. It was technically my number two. Don't have a huge amount to add, regrettably, but fantastic. Just fantastic. Beautiful. Really showing that Nintendo has such a grasp with their own technology and their own sense of artistry and are able to push this machine in ways that other people quite simply cannot. And looks, I mean, how it could look a level better if it was on a more powerful machine, but it's still one of the best looking games out there at the moment. Resolution, it's 1080p 60, but stuff like that doesn't really matter when a game looks this good and feels that complete, and everybody's obviously seen Luigi Death there and all the reactions and how alive all the characters feel in this one, which I think is an amazing thing. In fact, it's actually one of the best things about the Pro Evo games is how alive the people feel. They don't look like FIFA guys kind of walk around like these weird robots and their facial expressions look weird, whereas Pro Evo for years, since PS2 days, they actually look like they're there. They look like they're part of it, and that's what I'm getting from Mario Kart 8. They really feel like they're actually racing each other and enjoying that, and it really does add an extra element to it, especially when you're watching the replays. And it's kind of interesting because you go off the back of this and then you look at what they're doing now. Obviously, they did their E3 presentation, which, like the other two, was very strong. Obviously, you've got the new Zelda, which it looks absolutely glorious from this very small amount that we've seen. But Smash Brothers looks great. Some of the other stuff they've got coming out, the new Yoshi looks really cool. That Splatoon game looks really interesting. So Nintendo's kind of the Wii U's been a bit. It's been a disaster really, but fundamentally it's going to end up with a really tight library of Nintendo classics on it. It's going to have a classic Mario Kart, by all accounts, a classic Mario. 3D Mario game that I haven't played. It's got a very, very good 2D Mario game. It's got a really, really fine Pikmin game. Zelda, I have no doubt, is going to be wonderful. So you just got a real strong roster, a tight roster of really good games on there, and it's going to end up being quite cheap. So I'm hearing for the first time ever people who aren't hardcore gamers talking about the Wii U based on that Zelda announcement. So good on them. They needed to do that. They really, really did. Obviously, I'm saying nothing new here whatsoever. But Mario Kart 8 feels like finally the console's finally just kind of croaking into life. As good as some of the games have been so far, they weren't what the console needed. Needing Mario Kart. It's bigger. I think Mario Kart's bigger than almost anything that they can do, really. The Wii U one, I should say, has sold over 35 million copies. I don't know if you knew that figure or not.
I think I knew it was something in that region.
It's absurd, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I played it a fair bit this week as well, but I'd not lopped it off my list. Lopped it off my list because I didn't have anything to say about it. It's really, really terrific. It's really hard to muster too much to say about something that's so.
But it's the 8th version of something as well.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I'm loving it. Split screen co-op online is it doesn't get more fun.
It doesn't.
So yeah, it's great. I'm going to try and avoid talking about it because you should just buy it if you have a Wii U. Or
that's how I won't talk about it again unless they do a DLC or something.
Yeah, are they planning that?
Well, they're actually doing the. Did you see the Nintendo presentation?
No, I looked at the snippet of the Zelda bit online, but that's it. They're
going to be they're doing this stuff with amiibos. They're calling them, which is Skylanders, basically.
Oh yeah, right.
Yeah, they're going to be having those for Mario Kart. So I think they're going to start making a lot of money very soon.
Well,
all these toys that are going into Smash Brothers, into Mario Kart, into other games. Yeah, it's dangerous times for parents, I guess. Fuck. Yeah, I could be in trouble in a couple of years.
Yeah, really. But yeah, okay. Well, yeah, play Mario Kart. It's damn good.
Yeah, Far Cry.
But yeah, that's Far Cry.
That looks good, but I said fuck right.
Oh, fuck right. Okay. Yeah, thank you very much for listening. Check out the website. Don't bother. Check out the Twitter at Chet Donson, at
John Reeves,
at John Denton, at Chet Rovis, at Chet and John's. Check out the YouTube channel. There's stuff on there, and I think that's it. Oh, massive shout to. I think his name was Andy. I can't remember. His name is Shimmy Hill on the Rollmuck forums, but he sorted me out with a Battlefield Hardline code, and I'm eternally grateful. So cheers, that man. That was very kind of you.
And likewise, my boy Faded MFC on Twitter hooked me up with the same thing. So yeah, much thanks. Very, very kind of you.
Yeah, good. Indeed, really. Yeah, good people. Good people. But yeah, that's it. Check out some stuff, and otherwise we'll be back next week.
Apologies if I've seemed a bit quieter than normal. I don't know if I have or not, but if I have, I'm basically a wreck at the moment, so apologies for that. Happy fucking World Cup, and Wells is that guy.
Wind your body. Goodbye.
Wrestling is totally stupid and cheesy. So why don't you just dance, girly?
I've been promoting you two, so don't embarrass me. It's the moment of truth. Show them what you got.
It's not as easy as it sounds, boss. There aren't that many of us, and it's hard to handle all ourselves.
I heard that Saddam's already quit the business, gone off to open his own yakitori restaurant or something.
You two are such... What are you two little girls gossiping about? Woo!
Come on! Why don't you dance?
Don't hold back. Try and take me.
No!